We have been working off of multiple lists in terms of the lineup. Can I just go ahead and start talking about it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, when I first was approached and started with the team, we were given a list of 60 players, 30 of which were PBA players. The other half were players from Japan, Korea, UAAP, NCAA, even some naturalized possibility players that would be naturalized or possible naturalized players. And so that was the list in which we first worked on. It was my desire that looking at the lineup and how we wanted to proceed, I felt that we needed more balance in the lineup. So I requested, if possible, we could add Calvin Abueva and Jason Perkins to that list. They were outside that list of 60. From the idea was that if we wanted to be a competitive team, it was going to be comfortable for me to coach. And again, I say this over and over and over again. If you decide what the 12 players are, what 12 players you want, I decide what 12 players I want. Coach Al decides what his 12 players, you ask Yang Yao his 12, you ask Chot his 12. We're all going to come up with different 12s. Because we're not out there looking for the 12 best players. We're looking for the players that we can put together that can play the best in our vision, our own vision. Mine is in the triangle. Coach Yang is in multiple action. Chot is in dribble drive. Tab in his motion. So we all have different systems and players fit differently in different systems. Does that make sense? So it's all about, it comes down to personal choice. So my personal choice was Calvin and Jason because I felt that they would fill out the lineup and fill out the positions that were lacking. With the loss of Brandon Rosser, he was out because of a broken leg, and the loss of Jamie Malonzo because he has back issues. So those two guys were supposed to be the guys to replace them and place those positions in the lineup. And in the beginning, it was like, we should be able to do that. It shouldn't be a problem. But obviously, as it's become closer and closer and closer, it has become more of an issue. We also had to replace Kiefer Ravenna, who was in Japan, and we had to replace CJ Perez, who had to go to Japan with his family. So he wasn't available. So we looked at the list of 60 that we got, the original list of 60, and we chose Terrence and Mo Tautua to replace the 60. Well, so we were really only worried about Jason and Calvin. The other two guys, they were on the list, so walang problema, di ba? So what happened later is mga 5 days ago, we were told that there is another list that was submitted. And there's a list of 37 players. And on that list of 37 players, Mo and Terrence, and even Stanley, who we had as our alternate, were not on the new list that was submitted. So we had a 60 list that we originally worked off. The two guys that Calvin and Jason were not on that list. We wanted other players off that list, but we knew it would be too hard, so we just asked for those two. And so then we took Terrence and Mo because they were on that list of 60. Now the new list comes. Now all 4 players are not on that list. So now we're requesting to put 4 guys on the list that were not on the list. Does that make sense? You still making sense? Let me know because I know it gets confusing. We're confused. So that's where we stand. We're trying to get those 4 guys onto the thing. We've heard that the answer is no. We've heard that. But we haven't got anything official, and we're trying different avenues to continue. In the meantime, we had to go to the list of 37 and look at that list and try to find 4 replacements for the guys that supposedly cannot go. And that's Jason, Calvin, Abueva, Mo Tautua, and Terrence Romeo. So we had to look for 4. So we looked on the 4 of the 37 list. There was only 6 available players for us to choose 4 from the 37 list of 37. The reason why, again, all the players from Japan and Korea, all the injured players are on there. It boils down that there's only 6 players left. So we had to choose 4 from those 6. And so this guy, poor guy, he has to call these guys at 11 o'clock last night and say, can you show up tomorrow at 9 a.m. for a practice?
Inspire.
And Inspire. So he calls all 4 players, and they all agree. And those 4 players are Chris Ross, Kevin Alas, Arvin Tolentino, and CJ, who has returned. So CJ came back yesterday, so he's now back in the Inspire camp. So those are the 4 replacements that we have for Calvin, Terrence, Mo, and Jason. So obviously we've gone a lot smaller. The last guys are a lot smaller. There's 3 point guards in the group, and Arvin fills out the small forward situation for us. So those are the 4 guys that came up this morning. So now we're practicing in Inspire with 16 players as we go. And I'm sorry, we had another other bad news is that Roger had to withdraw from the national team for health reasons. And that's another whole issue together. I can't answer questions about that. You'll have to contact Roger and his doctors, but he is withdrawn from the national team for serious health issues, I should say. And so we were able to pick up Marshall Lassiter, who is on the list, by the way. So he got on the list of 37. So Marshall is there. So now we have 5 new players on the team starting today. If the other 4 are still turned down, and we hope to know that within the next 24 to 48 hours, whether they'll be available. So we're still trying different avenues to try to get them settled, but it doesn't look good, honestly. And so we'll probably go with the 4 that we have.